So welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm telling you all you need to know about a new and promising designer from China, so stay tuned. Now before I get further into this video, you can follow me on Instagram at FashionRoadman. If you want to support this channel financially, then I do have a Patreon and the link can be found in the description below. Also, if you want to join a group chat where people talk about fashion, sell their clothing and other stuff like that, I have a Discord chat as well, which is in the description below. Now, today's video is actually about a designer called Daoyuan Ding, and he's been making waves in fashion. He's not that known, but I wanted to make a video about him because, yes, I know if I made a video about Margiela it would do well with the views, but that's not really why I started this channel. It's really to highlight designers I like. So that's why I really wanted to go deeper into his career. So Daoyuan Ding is a designer from, I think, Zhoushan in China, and I think that's close to Shanghai if I'm not mistaken. Now he's actually worked for Uniqlo and kind of like another more local brand in China as a menswear designer, and he more recently studied his master's, so he did an MA at the London College of Fashion. At the London College of Fashion, he studied fashion design technology for menswear. Now, what actually put Daoyuan Ding on my radar was when he won the International Talent Support Award, quite recently actually. And I just liked his designs, I liked the clothing, what it was, so I kind of noted who he was, but I didn't really look into his designs that deeply until someone who follows the channel and someone like I talk to a lot like over social media, he asked me, oh, do you know who Daoyuan Ding is? And I was like, yeah, I know that guy from like the ITS awards, but I haven't really looked into his collections and his work. And then that conversation I had with this guy, we were basically just going deeper, and I was looking deeper into Daoyuan Ding's work, and yeah, it's amazing. So Alex, if you're watching this, shout out to you. You're basically the reason why I'm making this video. Now, as most of you guys know, London College of Fashion always has like the runway show for students. So there's graduate collections for menswear, womenswear, then there's also the master's programs like menswear and womenswear. So Daoyuan Ding, obviously because he studied menswear MA, he was on the menswear fashion show. And I'll tell you guys, Daoyuan Ding's part of this fashion show was at the end of the show, but I would tell all of you to watch the whole show because the show was amazing. It was really good, and it's really good to see like the emerging talent in London, because like I tried to tell you guys, to me I think London fashion is the best, and people always say, how can you say that when like in Paris there's Dior and there's Louis Vuitton and stuff like that? But to me, when it comes to experimental design and kind of seeing fashion as an art, I think at the current time nowhere does it like London. That's just my personal opinion. So now we're going to look deeper into his collection and find out why so many people loved it and why he was chosen for the International Talent Support Award. So this collection was titled Migratory Vagueness. When asked about this collection, Daoyuan Ding said, "My collection aimed to express the vagueness and ambiguity of objects and human identities. I was initially inspired by the philosophy ObjectOriented Ontology by Harman, which states the theory that the objects can be ascended to be whole and descended to be pieces in human subconsciousness. And later, while developing my concept, I was also inspired by the surrealist artists such as René Magritte, surrealist photographer Man Ray, and film director David Lynch, who all practice the theory of the uncanny by Freud. In the theory of the uncanny, it's expressed the deepest feeling of fear that comes from the unfamiliar familiarity, which my collection aimed to express. I call the hat, neck warmer, and gloves triple foundation in my collection. It was actually inspired by a film by David Lynch. It's erased the identity as a human, but still with a human form. It was also an expression of practice, the theory of the uncanny, which makes the familiar unfamiliar." So obviously, a lot of people find statements about collections complicated, but I'm going to kind of break it down so it sounds less complicated to you guys and actually makes more sense. So the first thing he talks about was something that he referred to as the object-oriented ontology. So what that actually is the object-oriented ontology is kind of a belief system where you kind of believe that human beings and objects are separate entities that can influence each other. So to expand on that, because that, I understand that kind of sounded a bit vague, it just makes sense to me. To explain that, we look at objects, let's say, I don't know, this teddy bear, we look at it as a thing, and we look at humans as beings, things that live, that have a thought process. So this teddy bear can't move unless I move its hand. But what the object-oriented ontology kind of suggests is that we should look at everything as beings and, you know, things like that, because as I'm influencing this object is influencing me. And I'm not going to get deep into like philosophy of it, because I could talk about it for hours, because I did so much research, like learning what it was for this video. But yeah, when you look deeper into it, it makes so much sense. Now, how this is relevant in this collection is, now in this collection you can see what Daoyuan Ding has done, where, so if you look at this collection, there's a big focus on this idea of the object-oriented ontology. I mean, from the way the clothing is styled, in a way where, let's say the model was walking, the way the clothes move influence the person who's walking, as well as the person who's walking influencing the way the clothes move. Also, kind of the feeling and reaction that the objects create. The objects create a feeling. So even though people look at objects as inanimate objects, they can create certain feelings, whether internal or external. The next thing Daoyuan Ding talks about in this collection was the theory of the uncanny. Now this theory was more famously brought to us by a guy called Sigmund Freud. And kind of to explain uncanny, I think people kind of know what uncanny means. When something is uncanny, it means it's created, the feeling created is from a psychological experience where something you saw as being familiar has now become unfamiliar. So if you look at Daoyuan Ding's collection, clothes are familiar. We know what hats are, we know what scarves are, we know what jackets are, shoes, trousers. However, the way it's styled and the way he's used in this, going back to my notes, there's something he said. So he said, I call the hat, neck warmer and gloves triple foundation in my collection. It was actually inspired by a film by David Lynch. It's erased identity as human but still with human form. It was also an expression to practice the theory of the uncanny, which makes the familiar unfamiliar. Exactly. So he said the hat, the neck warmer and the gloves, I call it the triple foundation in my collection. Now, a neck warmer, a hat and gloves are all things that we see as familiar. However, what he's done is he's used these to cover all parts of the body. So now what we know, these individual things like a coat, a hat, a neck warmer, a glove, they're familiar things. However, now we have a psychological experience watching this show. The way the whole look comes across to us is very glaring, it's very unfamiliar, even though the model is wearing very familiar pieces. And that kind of explains how he has used the theory of uncanny in this collection. Another thing he has done is, obviously, he's hidden the identity of the models, which also plays into the theory of the uncanny, as, once again, clothing is unfamiliar, but when you present clothing in a way where you can't see a human because we're used to humans wearing clothing, it becomes very unfamiliar. And what I just said goes back to the last statement he made when he said, it's erased the identity as a human, but still with human form. It was also an expression to practice the theory of the uncanny, which makes the familiar unfamiliar. Now, just looking at this collection from a fashion design perspective, a lot of the blazers had what we all know as houndstooth designs. And what Daoyuan Ding has done is he used a jacquard technique to kind of redesign and reinvent the, you know, traditional tailoring houndstooth design. And I thought this was pretty genius. I also read somewhere that it took him 8 months to develop in fabric development to even make the houndstooth jackets, blazers, jackets, whatever you want to call them, look that way. So I thought that was crazy. The attention to detail is insane. The tailoring was also asymmetrical, which I thought gave it a really good and slight edge. But yeah, just the way Daoyuan Ding has kind of like reinvented what we know as a traditional silhouette. He's taken a houndstooth blazer and he's just totally reinvented it and made it better in so many different ways. Yeah, just amazing work. Something else I really noticed that he didn't actually talk about himself, is just something I noticed, is the color palette. Now remember, in this collection Daoyuan Ding referenced oh my god, is this gonna go anytime soon? As I was saying, so Daoyuan Ding referenced Sigmund Freud and the theory of the uncanny. So it actually made so much sense that the color palette of this collection was dark. The colors I saw mainly were like grays, blacks, and like this kind of like maroony, brownish type of color. And it's the attention to detail. I don't even know if he meant this or not, but to me, it's the attention to detail that you're referencing stuff like the theory of the uncanny, making the familiar unfamiliar. It's a very dark collection, and it's the perfect time to use dark colors. Also, just looking at this collection in terms of like just face value, what you see without looking too deep into it. A lot of models had these kind of like belts styled on their wrists, and I thought that was quite interesting. I've not seen too many, you know, brands or runway collections where they style belts as like a wrist accessory. I thought that was pretty cool. The wide brim hats, very famous from this collection. I thought they were amazing. I definitely want one, and I know he's gonna start his brand, like release his brand soon, so I can't wait. Hopefully they're not too expensive. But yeah, I love the collection. I love the wideness of the trousers in this collection. I love the blazers, how the shoulders were a bit boxy. Also, I'm not sure if a lot of these pieces are transformative, and what that means is like, can they be used for two purposes? As in, a blazer, you can make it into a bag, because one of the blazers had like a sling across and it almost looked like it could be transformed into a bag. But I like to, if anyone knows, definitely let me know. But yeah, I can go on and on and on about this collection, but I won't bore you fanboying over Daoyuan Ding. But yeah, amazing designer. Definitely one of the hopefuls coming from China. There's a lot of Chinese designers right now, especially in the sphere of London fashion. We have people like now people like Daoyuan Ding, people like Yang Li, people like Xander Zhou. There's a big level of really good Chinese designers. So yeah, I look forward to his future work. Definitely an amazing collection. But yeah, on that note, definitely check him out. Follow him on Instagram. And make sure you watch the show. I'm gonna put the link to in the description below, but I'm also gonna like comment it. So look for it in the comment section as well. Amazing collection. And once again, it just goes back to how London fashion, man. London fashion is just amazing. I have a lot of hope for fashion when it comes to like London. Okay, so some of you guys are haters. And some of you guys said the mannequin was bullying me, which is why I didn't have the mannequin in this video as a prop. So soon I'm gonna have a different prop. So meet my friend Teddy. If you guys, anyone who's English will know exactly what this teddy bear's from. But anyway, just some random information. But yeah, subscribe to the channel, like this video, stay tuned for more videos, and stay tuned for more.